All right, we are going to finish the day with a lightning round of lightning talks from this summer's CHTC Fellows. So I'll let you all introduce yourselves. Here's the mic, and I think you each have 5 minutes.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is William. I'm a master's student here at UW. And I'm also a summer fellow at the CHTC. And I'm going to be giving a talk about my summer project, which is integrating Pelican and Globus. So I guess I want to start with a show of hands. First off, if you use Pelican in any capacity, whether that's like, downloading files or transferring data, it's great. Okay. And then keep your hands raised if you also have used Globus in any capacity too. Okay. So yeah, feel free to talk to me about how you use both of the services independently, because I guess in the spirit of translational computing, we want to hear about it. So um, I guess to give some background, Justin and Brian have already talked at length about Pelican today, so I'll keep it brief. But the primary use case is to deliver data to computer resources backed by HT Condor. Globus, on the other hand, occupies a different niche, which is handling peer-to-peer data transfer. And as of today, it's not fully integrated with Pelican. Um, so what a full integration would allow is data delivery from Globus served data stores to job execution sites like OS pool, and reduce some duplication of efforts to set up endpoints and origins. So I guess to give sort of a concrete example, or I guess an illustration of the issue today, let's say you're trying to access data through Pelican from one of our clients, the browser or OS or something else, and you have a data store, something like, I think I've used POSIX in this diagram, and that's isolated from the Pelican instance, but it's backed by a Globus endpoint. The question is, how do you run your compute on the data stores if it's isolated? So I guess one thing you could do is transfer the data via Globus to another endpoint if it's served by an origin in Pelican, or if you if the data store happens to also have an origin facing it, then you could do it that way. But I guess there's like kind of like a manual step in the process. Um, what my project is aiming to do is create an origin adapter for data stores that are served by Globus endpoints. So you can directly get the data and you know, operate on it as you would a normal Pelican origin. Um, and the way that we're going to do that, we have a translation layer inside the origin, which is housed in extrude D, which kind of maps our Pelican methods like get, put, ls, stat to methods that the underlying data store or the service fronted by the data store knows or is able to process. So in the case of Globus, we have HTTP methods in addition to, I guess, Globus specific methods, in some cases like ls. So I guess in terms of the roadmap, today we support read capabilities and a basic OAuth flow for authorization of the read capabilities. Um, Going forward, we're going to be implementing write capabilities, and then the rest of the Pelican methods, listing stat, and also enhancing the OAuth flow. And then I guess by the end of my fellowship, which is in August, we'll have a fully implemented integration. Um, yeah, that's my talk. Thank you.
Andy?
Yeah. Right, thank you.
Further.
That looks good.
No, I did the wrong.
Oh no.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Sangha Nair, but I go by Sandy. And my project for this fellowship is going to be building a Condor history catalog. So let's talk about what the issue is. The issue is that although Condor history saves a lot of very useful information about jobs that are saved, it's kind of hard to access it. Because the way that Condor history works is it essentially saves all your data to a really big file. And then every time you want to know, hey, what happened to my job, et cetera, it starts at the bottom of that file and then reads all the way back to the top, which is not the most efficient and leads to a couple of issues. First of all, it's very slow for old jobs. So if you ran something a while ago, it'll take a while to get to it. Second of all, it's hard to make any big aggregates. So let's say I'm a user who ran thousands of jobs. I want to know, how many of them failed with this exit code, etc. That's kind of hard to do under the current system. The more complicated your query is, the harder it is to run it. And this also hurts the effectiveness of other tools that were meant to solve these problems. If you've ever used the Condor history or ever used our noun verb tools, i.e. Condor job status, which is kind of meant to deal with these user interface problems, the issue is that if you're using job status for a very old job, it goes back to relying on Condor history and we're back to square one. This leads to a couple of scenarios that might look like something like this, i.e., hey, can you tell me what happened to the job that I ran 2 months ago? And Condor history says, well, maybe. It might take a really long time for it to give you anything truly effective, which really hinders how well our users can access their own data. So what's the plan? Now, something important to understand about this project is that it's in a relatively early stage, i.e., although we know that Condor history isn't perfect, in order to come up with a good solution, we have to have a really good understanding of what different users need. And this can vary a lot because what a power user needs or a system administrator needs is very different from what a facilitator might need. Which means at the end of this slide, I'm going to ask you to fill out a survey, which I've made relatively short, but will help me a lot to get the user experience down to a T so I know what scope that we actually want to handle with this problem. Let's talk about the tentative implementation, which is supposed to create this kind of catalog so that our user, who I've made look a little sinister here, can actually get his jobs done. The tentative plan is to create a sort of catalog for the history archive. So when you finish a job, it writes in the history archive your job at a specific address, followed by a long list of class ads. Whenever that happens, we save the address of that job so that if you're querying and saying, hey, what happened to my job? I want to go look at that information. It'll ask the catalog where to go and hop straight to that address. Now, this makes things a lot faster and more efficient. The other thing that's worth mentioning, though, is that we've had this problem before. Condor history, inefficient, maybe unwieldy. So there already exists something called Condor history ad stash, which will import all your information into something called Elasticsearch. The issue with that, and the reason why my project exists, is because Elasticsearch is not an out-of-the-box solution, i.e. it requires a lot of setup and a lot of maintenance. We want something that can work efficiently to help users as soon as they have Condor, and they don't have to set up huge amounts of infrastructure just to look at their own data. But the other thing that I really want you guys to keep in mind about the project is that this idea or implementation is relatively insular, i.e. this is the possible baseline to what I might end up doing. So in order to direct my project the way that you guys want to see it, it would be really great if you could take the survey and also please come talk to me about your issues with Condor history, things that you want to see fixed, things that you want to get done. Thank you so much.
Leave that slide up for get out your phones, everyone. You have 10 seconds to get the QR code. 10, 9. On the way. We'll share it too, but now is the moment. All right, I think that's been 10 seconds. Go ahead. We'll make sure other people can get the link. That's the wrong slide.
This is the wrong slide.
There we go.
Oh.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Kashika Mahajan. I am a rising junior here at UW-Madison, majoring in computer science and mathematics. And my project is the research facilitation project. You all must be familiar with these tools, right? HT, job HT Condor Job Status, Condor Queue, Condor History. Now, all these three tools have their own strengths. Job status is really helpful when you want a concise, human readable information. Condor queue is great when you want to know about how your batch or job list or a specific band job is doing. Then Condor history is great when you want to see jobs which are already done or doing. But these three come with their disadvantages as well. Condor job status only limits the information to one job. Condor queue only stores information about things that are yet to be done, and when they are done, they can either be completed or removed. So, and Condor history does not have any information about jobs that are already in queue. And all these, and Condor queue and Condor history need extra effort to get data out of them. So, my project at the CHTC is about having a tool or multiple tools in which we solve the problem where researchers want to know how the job is doing without having to dig for details. So, in this picture that we have, we have a lot of data, as you can see. And this is transformed into just a very simple feedback, which is green flag, yellow flag, red flag. And the aim of this project is that I've learned from listening to all the users that talked about using our system today is that they want feedback about overall status. And while as computer scientists, we love providing a lot of numbers and information, people who may not have a strong background with using Linux or these kind of systems might find it overwhelming. So the main objective is to make a tool that gives researchers simple feedback about their workload status. Now, feedback can come in many forms. We have visual, evaluative, and process. While visual feedback is needed, and most users that I talk to try to implement this on their own, process feedback is also important when it gives statistics about job done in one particular place so that you don't have to go to different tools and gather data and store them in an Excel sheet. We just want to provide that for you. But the main gist of my fellowship here at the CHTC is to come up with an evaluative feedback process in which we just look at the data that you have about your job list and we tell you, yeah, your job is doing okay. Your job is doing maybe okay. Your job is not doing fine at all. So for this, we have first steps, which is to first of all define what does it mean when a job is doing good? What does it mean when a job is doing bad? And what does it mean for the job to be maybe doing okay? And then it is to identify key metrics which we can use to kind of form this evaluation. Again, we don't want to give you every single thing. We just want to know that these are the main things which we think impact your job status the most. And then the first steps are clearly define which parameters we are evaluating the job list on. Create tools to extract this data so that you don't have to, and we can just take this data from the job list status, from Condor queue, from Condor history, then analyze previous jobs and identify statistics which are important to you, the researcher, and then define the best way to form a deliverable. So since this is a very user-heavy project, I would love that all the users who use this service come to me and talk to me during the breaks about what are some things you want to know about your job list and what are the gaps do you think we are missing and what are the things we can make better. Okay, thank you.
All right. Are we doing questions or wrapping up for the day? I'm looking at the powers that be. Okay. All right. Quick questions. Anyone have questions for the fellows in the short term? Otherwise, please, as they all talked about, go talk to them about their various projects. Whoa, no. You need a mic.
I have a suggestion for the last one, which is my jobs are doing badly if other people's jobs are running, but mine are not. That I'm serious, right? But if I submitted 100 jobs and some of mine are running, but it's fine, no problem. But if other people are getting ahead, I want to know. Yeah.
So, competition. Any other questions for fellows? The fellows, they're here all week, folks. So come and talk to them and let's thank them one more time for their presentation.